Brock, before we get to that, on Thursday, it'll be just 2 weeks before the NFL draft, so we are coming down the final stretch of your draft profiles.
The Seattle Seahawks select.
This is Brock Huard's draft profile.
You want traits? Check. You want a vocal leader? Check.
At the end of the day, you have to say, okay, what's best for the organization?
Can you make people around you better, and can you bring people together?
Every day at 9 a.m. leading up to the draft.
Remember growing up, Salk? In the 80s, the 90s? Remember all the movies with ninjas?
Yeah, ninjas were a big thing.
What happened to all the ninjas?
I don't know. Yeah. Now we only have pitching ninja.
Yeah. I mean, we had so many ninjas back in the day.
Everybody wanted to play ninja.
When I played Rambo out in the backyard before the Puyallup Fair bulldozed all the woods that we used to play Rambo in and build my zip line, you had to fight some ninjas every once in a while. We had throwing stars we made and everything else. I'm going to give you a 6'5", 260-pound ninja.
Whoa.
Because those ninjas in those days were not 6'5", 260. But that's what Latu is. That's the closest thing that I can characterize him. He is... Jim Nagy sent some tape out last week. So he's a defensive end, outside edge linebacker from UCLA. So this is my draft profile today. Latu, UCLA, Defensive Player of the Year in the Pac-12 Conference. Jim Nagy, our buddy down there in Mobile, who we had on, I don't know, about a month ago or so before or after the Senior Bowl. And he sent out some tape, and he was like, I'm sorry, man, this is Matrix-like stuff. When Dave Wyman will say a bunch of times, man, come on. Like, what do you expect these guys to do? Full speed, contort their body. Now they can't hip tackle. Now they can't land on a quarterback. Now they can't. Well, Latu is one ninja that could do those things. The way he can contort and change of direction and just get his body in places, Salk, that you're like, well, now you're dead. Oh, no, you're not dead. Now you're still alive, and now you're going to spin, and now you're going to make a sack, of which he did more than anybody else in all of college football last year. He led the FBS with 21.5 tackles for loss. He was fourth with 13 sacks. Those led to All-American stats. Those led to Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. Throw in 2 picks, throw in 3 forced fumbles. The dude is just all over the field. The season before, in 2022, well, he had 10.5 sacks. He had 3 forced fumbles. He was once again an all-conference performer, and he led all of the FBS. It was him and Braylon Trice with 65 pressures in 2022. So that's 23, and that's 22. And if that's all you knew, Latu would be a top 10 pick. But that's not all the rest of the story.
Okay.
The rest of the story, as I said in Blue 88 today, Salk, are those pieces of information, are the reams of data that we don't have on the outside. He played, actually, for the University of Washington. He was in that recruiting class in 2019 with Roma Dunze and the rest of them. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Latu was on this team? Maybe the national championship game is different, quite honestly. Maybe the level of defense for the Huskies with Braylon Trice on one side and Latu on the other would have been that much more elite and protected even more of some of the deficiencies they had on that team. But he was a Husky in 2019. He played as a true freshman. In fact, he played in 12 games, made 16 tackles, had a couple tackles for loss. And then I remember this story. I remember sitting there thinking in 2020, where's Latu? Ooh. Yeah, he's got an injury, and they're trying to figure out whether or not it's a career-ending injury. And, in fact, the University of Washington staff, Salk, did not clear him. They felt like whatever was going on and in their MRIs and in their study, that it was too much risk for Latu, too much risk for the program to put him out on the field, and medically retired and didn't play in 20 and didn't play in 21. And then he sat around and probably started to feel really good and started to train and started to get back and started to build up that frame that's, as I said, 6'5", 260 pounds, ran 4.64 at the combine and jumped 32 inches. I mean, freaky special stuff. And he got cleared. And he went to UCLA and put up those prodigious numbers over the last 2 seasons. There will, I am sure, of 32 NFL teams, be teams that look at that MRI the way that the UW doctors did, the way that the UW staff did, the way the UW personnel did, and said, I'm sorry, there's just too much risk here for me to clear you and play you. There will be teams that will do the same and, frankly, take him off of their draft boards. And then there will be teams that put on that tape and go, whoa, positionless. At UCLA, Salk, over the last 2 years with NFL schemes and NFL coordinators, he played the edge. He played the 3 technique. He moved all over the line of scrimmage in nickel. He dropped into coverage, as I said, with 2 picks. I mean, he's one of these rare guys that could play anywhere in the front seven. Not Mike Will, but you put him on any edge or you put him in any nickel situation at 260, he could come in on third downs and go up against some of these guards in this league and absolutely own them and eat them. So he's going to be a first-round pick. Could he be on the board at 16? Probably depends on the run on quarterbacks, receivers, and tackles. He's not the number one end. That's Dallas Turner. He's going to go ahead of him. Right, there could be a corner need for somebody else, somewhere else. There could be, another need, another trade up for a quarterback. If 4 or 5 QBs go, if 4 or 5 tackles go, if all 3 of those receivers go, you do the math. Sitting there at 16 could be one of the most intriguing prospects in this draft in Latu.
All right, that is today's draft profile. If he's there, should they take him?
No, I don't think you can. I think you've got to then trade down and hope somebody else so desperately wants him, and you have invested. This then becomes one of those balanced conversations.
So this
right?
is even though you love him.
I love this dude. I just don't think you got out of whack, Salk, with receivers. You got out of whack with your safety room. You just kind of got out of whack. You got imbalanced, and I don't care about talent. Oh, yeah, just take the best talent. Well, not when you've taken Derek Hall, Boye Mafe, Uchenna Nwosu, and you've invested in Dre Jones. No, we have invested so much artillery, and we're going to trust our coaching and our scheme to get the most out of those edge players. But if somebody else wants Latu because he's that elite of a pass rusher and that much of a difference maker, then hopefully they can come up and maybe even overpay you in this draft to add the kind of capital you need later in the first and certainly through the second round.